let's move to the combine, Big G.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot. First of all the workouts and everything starts up on Thursday. Let's go over the schedule real quick, Big
Mm-hmm.
G. Thursday, D linemen and linebackers, they do their thing.
Yep.
Friday, the 28th, you got defensive backs and tight ends. That's a weird group to go together, but it is.
Yeah.
And Saturday, you got quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And then Sunday, offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the schedule. Let me ask the chat, and I'll ask you, Big G, but I want the chat to respond. Obviously, we're going to pay attention to all of it.
Uh-huh.
But where is the most pressing place or day in the combine for the Steelers this year? Is it day one with D lineman?
I say it's two. It's the first day and the last day. I think the Steelers, listen, if we're going to get better as a franchise, we have to look at the defensive line and at the offensive line. I know we need a quarterback. I know we need a wide receiver. I know we need a running back. I know all those things. But you get better and improve your team as a franchise by getting better in the trenches. So we're going to do our due diligence at all the spots. At all the spots, we're going to look. But you got to look hard at that first day and that last day, bro.
See, I think in my order, I think it's day 3 and then day 1 and then day 4.
Okay.
And just in my order, because we got to have an O-line, but I feel like the Steelers have tried to address it. And I think in free agency, if we do the draft, or in free agency, we address guard, I think the Steelers have done now. Again, I'm on record, and I'll never be off of this record. You never stop trying to upgrade your offensive line. Never,
Max.
ever, ever. So if you have an opportunity, yeah, you do it. You jump on it when you can, because do we want to put all the trust in Broderick Jones?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the problem with, because if one of those big-time offensive linemen drops to 21, do the Steelers just say, well, we got Broderick to play left tackle, so we're not going to take him? Are you willing to do that? And that's where the dilemma comes in. And I'll ask you, chat, would you be willing to do that? If let's say one of the top 3 tackles in this draft drops to 21, do we just say, we got Broderick to play left tackle, and we got Troy Fautanu playing right tackle. He missed all of last year, so we're fine. We don't need to do it. See, I have a difficult time. People told me there's no way the Steelers would do that, but you can't tell me if one of those big-time tackles falls that's not a conversation. You can't tell me it wouldn't be.
Man, right off the back it is. Because listen, the number one priority out of Omar Khan's mouth was you got to get a quarterback. The second priority is to protect that quarterback. And if the offensive line can't do what they need to do, considering what we currently have in the building, you got to get guys in there that can do it.
Right.
So you're right. You're absolutely correct. The O-line is critical. And like you said, the top 3 the top 4 maybe, dog. The top 4, because there's some dogs, man. Them top 4 offensive linemen is dogs. So yeah. I wouldn't, if they ran a lineman card up there, I ain't mad. I ain't mad at all. You got to protect the dude.
See, now here, big pun in the chat. He's back to drinking. We thought we got him on the wagon, but he's off the wagon. He says, why keep drafting offensive linemen if you can't develop them? What kind of a statement is that? Would you just say, well, we can't develop them, so we won't draft any? Huh? Like, what are you talking about? First of all, if you draft better offensive linemen, isn't that less development that you would actually have to do if they're already really good? Mm-hmm. So, come on, man. Stop being emotional. You got to get out of your emotions with this stuff and get off everything is the coach's fault, okay? Yeah. At some point, you got to get off of that. You got to get off of that. But it's wild stuff like that, man.
Right. In the last 4 offensive linemen that we drafted, McCormick, Zach Frazier, Jones, and Troy Fautanu. The only one that was day 1 starter that was ready to go, day 1 ready to roll, was Zach Frazier.
Correct.
The other 3 had developmental issues in them, and they're only going to get better by the more they play. Now, Jones, you might see a big improvement because he goes to his natural position, which is left tackle. We if you're mad at anything, the fact that we held on to trash Dan Moore forever. But Jones need to be playing left, which Omar Khan said today. Fautanu needs to be playing right. Zach's in the middle, and then you make some decisions about the guards. but you got to improve the offensive line to protect whatever quarterback comes into the Pittsburgh Steelers organization.
Yeah, you definitely got to do that. My thing with that is like there's this decision, like there's talk out there that the Steelers are going to cut Isaac Seumalo.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't understand it. He's not old. You know, everybody thinks, oh, well, you're over 30 years old, you can't play anymore. That's not true.
Facts.
Not to mention, I think he was playing through a pec injury all last year. Remember, he missed the first 4 games of the season.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that's a smart decision for the Steelers to do that. Now, I know it saves cap space. I do. But you got to have somebody that can play guard. You have to do that. And I still believe the Steelers can address it in free agency. They need to address it in free agency and the draft. So I'm not opposed to that, but I'm still, look, I want a wide receiver, but I still think D lineman. I've switched my focus. We got to have wide receivers. We got to have playmakers. But defensive line is the biggest need for me right now. That's the biggest need. We don't have, outside of Cam Hayward, I mean, you can say Keanu Benton. We don't even know what Keanu Benton would look like in his real position because we've had him playing out of position the last 2 years. So I think the Steelers got to go D-line, man. I'm more and more with the first pick going Steelers D-line, man.
Well, that's actually a great take. And the reason why is this. The likelihood that one of those top-notch defensive tackles fall to us at 21 is way higher than a top-notch WR falling to us or a top-notch offensive lineman falling to us. The position of depth for this NFL draft is the defensive tackles.
Yeah.
The defensive tackles is the depth. So we could get a top 2 or 3 guy maybe at 21 because there's so many of them. And so I think teams' priority boards might not be set that high concerning where they go after a defensive tackle. And I know it's the defensive side of the ball, which we need skill, like you said, on the offense. But, man, if we'll talk about it later. If certain dudes fall on the draft board, man, go get them, bro. I mean, Don't even wait.
Right. Yeah. That's my thing is we got to have the wide receiver room, but you got to have the defensive line too. And what we're going to lose, because if the Steelers don't cut Larry Ogunjobi, again, that's a fireable offense. I just flat out, that would be a fireable offense if the Steelers keep Larry Ogunjobi on the roster. I mean, what are we doing? So at some point, again, like you've said, like I've said, like tons of people in the chat have said, like millions and millions of Steeler fans have said, the Steelers hold on to people too long for absolutely no reason. And so, and keeping Larry O on the roster would be an absolute, just a miscarriage of justice to the highest degree, to be honest with you. So,
facts. I agree. Totally agree, bro.
All right, Big G. Well, let's move on, brother. Let's get to your big board. I'm going to let you take over here. So, and find out. First thing is, anybody in the chat, if you want to help support the channel, remember to get your question, your rant, or your statement up on the screen. Super chats are wide open. So if you want to help support us that way, please feel free. But Big G, go ahead, man. Take over the big board and let's get this rolling.
Well, listen, first of all, I got to make the preference to tell all you guys. This is pre-draft evaluation with grades and positions of the players. Now, you're going to see a ranking and a value, right? The ranking and the value has to do concerning where you would position a guy if you made a top 40 big board. And in most NFL rooms, they rank big board by position, okay? So it's position of need. These are the guys, and this is how I rank them. Now, will the combine and the private workouts and the interviews change some of these rankings? Absolutely. But this is how I see the positions concerning the players right off the bat. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with quarterback first, okay? And now, is quarterback a high position of need for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Nah. You know, I think that we might wait, especially if we get a guy like a Stafford or we re-sign Justin. However, if I had to rank them, I'm going Cam Ward number 1 at a 90.1, Shedeur Sanders at number 2 at 87.9, Jackson Dart at number 3 from Ole Miss at 85.4, Quinn Ewers out of Texas at an 84, and Will Howard at 83.7. That's my top 5 for a quarterback. Do I think the Steelers will make a run at any of these guys? Possibly Jackson Dart, maybe Will Howard in a later third or fourth round. But right off the bat, I don't think they go after a quarterback, bro. That's my thinking.
Okay. See, here's a guy in the later rounds, which I don't know how long he's going to last. Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
I like Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. Here's the thing. You're an Ohio State fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyle McCord got a bad rap. I don't think he's great. I don't think he was spectacular there. But here's the thing that I like about him. The whole country thought that Kyle McCord sucked and was brandished, and he did not go to Syracuse and just fall on his face. He did not do that. Now, was every game great? No. But he didn't go to Syracuse and just fall flat. That's not what happened. So if we could get Kyle McCord in maybe the 5th round, I wouldn't be mad about that because, like I said, he showed me a little bit about that. He showed me some stuff about him because, again, the whole country thought he was awful.
Yeah.
And he didn't go to Syracuse and play awful.
Yeah.
So another one is Tyler Shough, or Shuck out of Louisville. Size, arm strength, has some mobility. He's married, so he's got some maturity. People are saying, well, he's old. I'm like, well, when do you want him to play and how long do you want him to play? NFL rules allow for guys to play till they're 40. Like, how long do you want a quarterback? A decade?
Yeah.
Well, he can't play till he's 36? Of course he can.
Facts.
So I don't think that. So keep going, Big G. Let's get to the next one.
Facts. All right, now we go to the running back position. Now, there's a guy at the top of the big board at the running back position that I'm hearing all kind of rumors and all this other stuff about him. He's being tagged to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers is meeting with the guy individually and all whatever else, and they're interviewing him. That's Jeanty, right? I do have Jeanty based with a number 1 grade. He's a 92.5. However, he can free fall fast based on what he runs at the combine.
Correct.
Because he's not 5'10".
No.
He's like 5'8" and some change.
Correct.
Right? And he's not Barry Sanders and he's not Emmitt Smith. So he could free fall, which if I'm the Steelers at 21, I don't take that risk to take the dude. I got Omarion Hampton at number 2 at 89.9. Travion Henderson at number 3 at 87.8. Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. I know a lot of Steelers fans like him at 86.5. And Quinshon Judkins at a flat 86. I think any of these 5 guys, depending on what your taste and flavor is at pick 1, might be the pick. If not, definitely at pick 2. That's what I'm thinking, B.
I mean, I don't hate it. The person that I like most in this draft at the running back position is Omarion Hampton. I think he's, me personally, I think he's the best back in the draft. But he's not a game breaker per se, but I think he is literally the best running back in the draft. But somebody not on the list, but it's still a lot. Running back is super deep. And I've talked about this guy a lot, is Devin Neal out of Kansas. 5'11", 215. Now, here's the thing. You talked about Jeanty dropping in the draft because of his 40. I want to see what Devin Neal runs in his 40. Because if it's in the 4 or 5 range, Devin Neal's going to fall. The Steelers or a lot of teams, you can get him in the 4th or 5th round. But if it's in the high 4.4s, then all of a sudden he starts moving up the draft board. So I want to see what Devin Neal runs in the 40. But he can do everything. He's got great vision. He can catch out of the backfield. He's a good blocker and pass protection. He's tough. 1 foot in the ground, if that's what's called, super agile. I like him. I like him. And he was a workhorse at Kansas. He was an absolute workhorse. So keep an eye on him. Again, watch that 40 time at the combine, Big G, because depending on whether it's up or down, because if it's up, I don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to get him unless they try to get him in the 3rd, not the 2nd, but maybe the 3rd round, which I think might be too high for him.
Yeah.
But if he runs 4 or 5, that 4th or 5th round, he'll be there. I think the Steelers can snatch him.
Yeah, the guy that I had left off the list that I tried my best to get him in there, but his grade just wasn't as high, was Rock Sanders. Rock Sanders runs a good time at the combine. Rock's jumping up in this list some kind of way.
Absolutely.
All right, next we're going to go to wide receiver position, bro. Now, this is the quote-unquote position of need for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? The wide receivers are talented, but they're not as deep as what everybody thinks as far as drop off from first to second round talent. There's going to be some gems like Higgins and Beck, the kid from Texas Christian University, that'll be there, but they're not ranked in the top 5. Top 5 wide receiver starts with McMullen, the wide receiver out of the University of Arizona. He's got a 90 grade, you guys. He's a legit first round A wide receiver. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. I want to see how fast he actually runs. But the issue in the deal has been is he a choice route guy or does he run crisps? So those individual drills is going to make all the difference. Emeka Egbuka, I think, might be the highest riser on this board. Emeka Egbuka is at 88.9. He runs a sub 4.4, ladies and gentlemen, look out. I mean, we're talking top 12 pick. Luther Burden III, great kid, but he's another small guy. He's going to measure like at about 5'10", 5'11", quick, can get in and out of a break, can run every route. But do you need another small guy in Pittsburgh? Trey Harris, who I think is rising up draft boards for the Steelers. Nice sized kid, thick kid, can run, can catch, can run every route. I was watching tape on him today. I was like, he's out there killing them, right? And then Matthew Golden out of the University of Texas, who made a name for himself as the season went on for the Texas Longhorns and really became their number 1 receiver, jumped Isaiah Bond. So this is my wide receiver list before the combine, B. This is what I got, bro.
I got you. Great list, by the way. I like Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. 6'4", 210, fluid. He's a long strider, but fluid, but he can also run routes. You don't get that often with guys that run routes. You don't get the fluidity or a long strider being able to do that. I like him. He was productive. Look, we keep talking about getting rid of George Pickens. Jaden Higgins is George Pickens. Now, I don't know if he's as talented, but he's definitely got that size.
Facts.
And he's a better route runner. That much I know for an absolute fact. He's a better route runner than George Pickens is. So we talked about not wanting small guys. Second round pick, Jaden Higgins. I mean, if we wait to the second round for a wide receiver, he'll be there, or he should be there. Now, it depends on how fast he runs, because if he goes sub 4.4, then that's a problem for the Steelers, because I'm not sure he would be around. But if he doesn't, he's in the 4.4, mid 4.4s. He should be there in the second round. I like him.
Yeah, facts. All right, y'all, we're going to move to the offensive line. We're going to start with the big boys, the big tackles, man. Now, there's some dogs out there. And, B, this is what we were talking about earlier. Would, if and when one of these top 3 or 4 dudes, if they fall to 21, I don't think it's a question, because the grades on those top 4 tackles, man, is just unbelievable. And when you look at the grade and then you look at the tape, if they perform well at the combine, oh my God.
Right.
So I start my list with Calvin Banks. He's a beast, man. I mean, go watch the tape of Calvin Banks at the University of Texas. Straight up dog, legitimate day 1 starter in the NFL. But Will Campbell's right behind him out of LSU, man.
Yeah.
This kid put that tape on, man, and that boy, that is what you call an NFL offensive tackle, right? He run block, pass block. You can pull him. You can stretch him. You can do he can get to the second level every single freaking time. So yeah, I like Will. Now, drops off a little bit with Josh Simmons when you actually check out the tape. Yeah, he's that dude, bro. He got an unfortunate injury against Oregon this year, but go watch him. Watch his play at Ohio State and what he did. He's a legit day 1 starter in the NFL. The fastest driving guy or jumping guy on the draft boards is Zeeble, the offensive tackle, Gray Zeeble out of North Dakota State University at an 87.2. He's a dog, man. I was looking at him. I watched him in the Senior Bowl, line up against dudes. I was like, man, this dude can play. So I like him. And then, listen, if you already got Zach Frazier from West Virginia, why not go get his boy? Go get him up, because he's mean and nasty like Frazier too. So if you wait till like maybe the second, hey, you might be able to get a dog to go along with Zach Frazier for 10 years. Because I'm telling you, go put the tape on with him. He's mean and nasty. And that's what you need from an offensive tackle, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I like, as far as offensive tackle, is Josh Conerly Jr. out of Oregon.
Yeah.
Now, look, here's the thing about him. He's got that bad tape from that one rep at the Senior Bowl when he gets run completely over. And that's followed him for basically the last month.
Yeah.
But Josh Conerly Jr. can play. I like him. But like I said, that one rep has people bad mouthing him, and I'm like, did you watch the rest of the time that he was there? He didn't struggle.
Yeah.
He played well in the Senior Bowl. He played well this year. Not to mention, he's got over 1,800 snaps playing high level left tackle in college football.
Yeah.
That's got to mean something, man. I like Josh Conerly as well.
I love it, bro. All right, we're going to move to the interior offensive lineman, okay? This is still, whether Steeler fans realize it or not, a position of need. With Daniels, not for sure. You're hearing about Seumalo might be cut. McCormick we saw, and he was out there looking like a dancing panda. But last I checked at NFL, you got to have two guards.
Yeah.
So the offensive guard interior line position is a little different, right? I ranked them based on how they would fit in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. So I like what they are. And if you check most national media and you look at the position, right, they rank them similar to me, but I got a couple of guys a little bit higher. So roll that graphic if we can, bro. Put them interior. Hey, man, first dude, Alabama, he's a dog. Listen, Tyler Booker is a dog, y'all. He's a dog. Like, he's a day one starter. Wherever you draft him, he's day one. All right? Donovan Jackson improved. He showed that he could play a swing tackle and a guard at the same time. So now you're getting a 2-for-1. Now, what's going to be critical is his arm measurements, his arm length. That's going to be critical. Because in the NFL, if you just ain't got the reach, you ain't going to play no tackle. I don't care who you are. I don't care how strong you are. You ain't going to play no tackle if you ain't got the reach in the bend. All right? Tate Rutledge at Georgia, dog. Legit dog. I went back and watched some film when he was blocking for ETN, both him and Fairchild. Man, no wonder ETN had games where he looked like a first-round NFL draft pick because they was mauling people. Man, I went back and watched both of them Texas games. Oh, my God, they was killing them. They was killing them. I was like, oh, yeah. Both of them is SEC dogs. And Jake Majors, man, he's a center out of University of Texas. Now, I know that we have a center already in Zach Frazier. But Jake Majors can play guard too. So a lot of these guys are swing where they can go in and out, guard, tackle, center. And you need that versatility in the offensive line, B.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. Here's my thing. I like Luke Kandra out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
6'4", 323, road grader, nasty. Yeah. And he's a good enough athlete, Big G, that he can play guard in the National Football League. He'll be a later round pick, fourth, probably more like a fifth round pick. But that's somebody that actually could come in and could compete with Mason McCormick right now. Let's say the Steelers strike out in free agency. You get a Luke Kandra, that's somebody that can compete right this very second with Mason McCormick for that right guard position. Yeah. So I think we need him on the roster no matter what, because apparently it's going to be Seumalo's last year anyway. But that's who I like. Out of Cincinnati, Luke Kandra, later rounds, I like him.
Facts. All right, now, the position that me and Big B been talking about for weeks, defensive line. Interior defensive line, not edges, defensive line. It is the deepest position in the draft. There's legitimately 12 dogs. Yeah. Legitimate. And there's probably 3 more that if they do well at the combine and individual workout, you could put them in that list. This list is deep. Okay. So, and I think right off I forgot about the tight end. I got to back up. That's my fault. I forgot totally about the tight end. Let me back up and say Tyler Warren, defense, tight end, Penn State University, beast. Okay. Fannin, I saw this kid play up close and personal. He's a first-round NFL draft pick. You know who he is, B? He's Antonio Gates. I'm telling you, watch the film. Go look at him. Okay. He's Antonio Gates. Cortland Loveland, who I think is going to be locked into the Los Angeles Chargers. Harbaugh's getting this kid. His tape looks good. Even when Michigan was played trash, he still looked good. Mason Taylor, if you guys don't know, that's Jason Taylor's son, Mason Taylor. Jason Taylor that played. Joy Taylor that's on, that's the nephew. He, at LSU, great film out there on him. And he's long, too, man. Really long. And Ferguson out of Oregon, real deal. Real deal tight end, man. All of these guys are serviceable to me, second or third round picks, man, to me.
Yeah, I like that. Tight end, I like Gunnar Helm out of Texas. He's a good athlete, really good athlete, 6'6", 250. but he's also can block. You know, he is. You can put him on the edge, and he can set an edge at the blocker. Now he's not Darnell Washington, so I don't want anybody to confuse him with that. But he's definitely better than Pat Freiermuth is. So, but I'll be honest, the Steelers. This is not a position I would be looking at if I'm the Steelers. But you never know. I mean, you never know what could happen. But I like Helm out of Texas at the tight end position.
Yeah, and that's the beauty about setting a board. Because you got to look at evaluation, what your grade is across the board. And if you get a position of value that's maybe a first and you get him in the third, you got to take him.
Right.
So, so I get it, bro. All right, so now the position I'm excited about is the defensive line, bro. I think there's at least one generational talent in the defensive line, interior defensive line. Man, listen, anytime you see on my big board that a guy's got over a 95 grade, they're a generational talent. Mason Graham is a generational talent. Listen, I watched so much film on this guy. And the more I watched, I was like, man, I wish to God he would just fall to 21. He's not going to. He's not going to fall out of the top 8.
No.
But this kid is a monster, man. He's a monster. And Walter Nolan is close. The only thing about Walter Nolan is he just doesn't have Mason Graham's size.
Right.
But he's explosive, athletic, and defensive tackle. B, I've heard you say this before. If Nolan's sitting at 21, you run the card to the thing and you worry about everything later on.
Absolutely.
Because he's a day one starter. Now, the most interesting kid is the Kenneth Grant kid out of Michigan. This kid's going to run a sub 4.8, y'all. I keep telling everybody. Nobody's like, there's no way at 336 pounds he's going to run that. Watch. I'm telling you, he's going to run a sub 4.8. He's that big and that fast and that strong. There's tape out there that shows him walk down Singleton, the running back out of Penn State. And when it wasn't no angle, he went and got him at 20 yards out, bro. This dude's fast. Derek Harmon, you put the tape on out of Oregon, he literally looks different than all the rest of these dudes because it's massive size. Steelers fans, he's not Casey Hampton, but if you put him in a zero technique for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got your guy for 10 years.
Yeah.
And the last dude who might move up the board based on what he works out with is Tyleik Williams, the dancing bear out of Ohio State, 6'4", 330. And there's dogs out there, B. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You could go 5 more and switch them out. And outside of Graham, it could be debated, in my opinion, bro.
Well, you're right, because the guy that I'm going to name is one of those people that are interchangeable with anybody outside of Graham in this top 5 is Tyler Robertson out of Nebraska.
Facts.
6'6", 310, strong as an ox, demands a double team. Because if you don't double team him, he's getting in your backfield. He's causing havoc. And that motor, that crazy, crazy motor for somebody that big, I like Robinson. The dude is incredible. Incredible. Yeah. I was going to say, I've kind of, I was on Deion Walker early, Big G. I was on Deion Walker early.
Yeah.
And the more that I watched him this year, it's like, man, I get it. His junior year, he was incredible. You could not block him his junior year. This past year, it looked like he was out there playing, I don't want to get hurt. I'm going into the NFL draft. Maybe I should have went into the draft last year. I don't want to be here anymore. That's my only problem with Walker. He played high. His junior year, he didn't do any of that. But this past year, it just didn't do it for me. So, but give me Robinson. I like Robinson out of Nebraska. I think outside of Graham, he's right up there with everybody else. He's crazy good.
Yeah, third. If we can steal him in the third round, I'll be happy.
Yes.
I'll be happy, B, if we can steal him in the third, man. All right, we go on to the edge rushers. Now, do I think the Steelers are going to go after edge? No. I mean, we got Herbig, we got TJ Watt, we got Highsmith. We might not. But you never know. You never know what they're thinking as far as the Steelers organization. So you got to rank the guys. All right. Once again, here comes another generational talent. In my opinion, the best player in the freaking draft. Abdul Carter, defensive end, number 11 out of Penn State, man. He's electrifying, y'all. I mean, I think he's just a little bit better than Micah. Not Micah, the Micah Parsons. I think he's just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Now, he's got to prove it at the NFL level, but when you put on the tape with this dude, he's unbelievable. The guy that's growing on me is James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. I was biased because we smashed him when Ohio State played him. And I was like, this dude is a first round. He's big trash. But then I went back and started looking at his film when he played in the SEC. And I seen him demolish some dudes. Like he was literally, I saw 3-4 games be where he was unblockable. Like they tried to double team him. He had an inside move. He had a spin move. He had a swim move. He had a push and chip where you thought he was coming and he pushed off and he ran out in the flat, picked the pass off. I was like, yeah, this dude's a dog, right? Mikael Williams out of Georgia, dog. Beast. Beast. Now listen, you can't go wrong with a bulldog. I'm going to keep on prefacing it, keep on saying it. You can't go wrong with a bulldog. You can't, because they've had the most dominant college football team for the last 3 years in college football. These guys are ready to go day one starters in the league. Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. The only thing about him, bro, is that sometimes I've seen him disappear on tape. It wasn't like he was taking plays off, but I'm like, bro, you got to be explosive. At that, your size and strength, you could dominate a football game. So you just got to dominate 24/7. And I don't know if that was a conditioning thing, but he had decent tape. And then Landon Jackson out of Arkansas, a lot of folks don't know, and this kid is huge too. When you was talking about Robinson, this kid's tall, big, bulky. He could definitely be a replacement up the road for Cameron Hayward for the defensive end, bro. For me, B.
Gotcha. The only thing about James Pierce that I'm questionable about is his size. He's little. He at the combine, I need him to be 340, man, because he's skinny. He was skinny out there. He needs to be bigger than what he was, because at 320, he needs to be 240. That's what I need him to be. He can't be out there at 220 out there trying to play defensive end in the National Football League. But who I like, Mike Green out of Tulane. Oh. He's been shooting up the draft board here recently. Again, I just talked about Josh Conerly, how he had that bad rep at the Senior Bowl. Well, it was our man right here, Mr. Mike Green, who literally ran over him and that rep at the Senior Bowl that went viral. Yeah. So he's been shooting up the draft boards. Crazy get off, 6'5", 245 as an edge. Again, the Steelers won't take him because he's not going to be around for the Steelers when the Steelers need to be looking at an edge. But I like him in this draft. I think he's crazy, crazy good.
Facts. All right, linebacker that might sneak up and might be a quiet position of need for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? To me, there's some guys that could be starters in the NFL on this list. To me. As a matter of fact, my top 5 guys all could be starters. And they could definitely come in. They might have to be tweaked a little bit just to learn the system. But all these guys in a 3-4 base defense could start for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So when you start my linebacker list and you look at the first guy, Walker, the linebacker out of Georgia. The tape speaks for itself, bro. Listen, 11, 12, and 13. When you go and watch Georgia Bulldog tape, watch 11, 12, and 13 on defense. They was causing problems. They literally line those guys up anywhere on the field from any position and it would blitz them. Literally, all 3 of those guys. Well, their leader is Walker. He's a bigger, faster version of Dean, the Kobe Dean, that's at Philadelphia right now. This kid is fast and can run. And when he gets there, he's going to punish you. So I like him, man. Campbell, once again, SEC Bama, bro. You can't. One thing you can't teach is size, speed, and technique. These guys that's coming from these blue blood programs, the Georgias, the Alabamas, they have all those things combined. Campbell is your atypical inside linebacker from the University of Alabama. When he meets you in the A gap or the B gap, he's going to kill you, and you're not going to run outside on him because he can beat you to the point. So, yeah, he's a dog. Desmond Knight, who don't get a lot of flavor or credit out there for being the stud middle linebacker for that South Carolina defense. Y'all, if you guys didn't watch college football, South Carolina defense had one of the best defenses in the whole freaking country. They had studs across the board on their defense, right? And this guy was their leader. Now, B, I'm going to be biased. My dude is Chris Paul, bro. Chris Paul, bro. Because you had me watching Walter Nolan. And I was like, man, and I keep seeing Chris Paul jump off the tape. I'm like, wait a minute, but I'm supposed to be watching Nolan, and I'm seeing Chris Paul. I said, oh, no, we got to get Chris Paul. we got to get Chris Paul, right? And the last dude is Carter out of Clemson, man. He all right. I mean, he's a serviceable starter, definitely for the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro. But that's my linebackers list.
Right. Yeah. Jalen Walker is crazy because he's kind of in the Micah Parsons mold where he can play middle linebacker for you at the will, but he can also rush off the edge. Look at that first Texas game, what he did. Just absolutely unblockable. Unblockable. But who I like, as far as a middle linebacker, Kobe King out of Penn State, he would be a later round pick.
Ooh.
Outstanding run defender. Think Elandon Roberts when you talk about him. Now, he's not great in coverage, but he's got the athletic ability to develop that. That's the difference, is that, there's some guys that just can't develop it. They're not good at it, yada, yada, yada. He's got the athletic ability to be able to develop that. Now, do we trust the Steelers coaches to do that? That's a different conversation for a different day. Having said all of that, I like Kobe King out of Penn State at middle linebacker.
All right. Yes, sir. Next position, the corner. Generational talent right off the back. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. They was arguing today whether or not this dude was a wide receiver or a corner. I mean, either way, it don't matter, dog. He's a dog. Travis Hunter, man, there's no tape out there that tells you that this kid's not going to be spectacular at the next level. He could be a shutdown corner. He could be a legitimate wide receiver. I think he's going to play corner, and they're going to give me packages. But he has one of the highest grades on all my big board, bro. Will Johnson, the second corner, is a dog too. He missed some games due to injury, and he basically shut it down for Michigan after he saw that they couldn't play in the playoff. But, man, this kid's a beast when you put the tape on. He shuts down number one receivers. Go back and look what he did against Marvin Harrison Jr., against Emeka Buka. Go back and look what he did. Look to them dudes. He killed them, bro. Like, you wasn't catching nothing on this boy.
Right.
Jahdae Barron, my only concern, he's 5'10". I think he might even measure smaller at the combine. So we'll see. I want to see his measurables. Do I think he's going to run? I mean, he won the award for the best defensive back in the country. So he's got to be about something, right? Benjamin Morrison, a sleeper pick, who I think the Steelers might target maybe in round 2. If he's sitting there around 2, I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers go corner at Benjamin Morrison. If you look at his tape, man, Notre Dame didn't have a bad defense by accident.
No,
right? Oh, and this kid plays press, heavy press, and he's not handsy. See, it's one thing to play press and to be handsy. It's another thing to play press and be straight up a dog at that corner. So Benjamin Morrison, I like him, dog. Yeah. Ravel, the corner out of East Carolina, he's a fast jumper like Mike Green because of what he did at the Senior Bowl. But I had to go back and start evaluating his tape. He's better than a lot of the other corners that they're listing at these top positions. So that's my list for the corners, bro.
Gotcha. A guy that I like is Quincy Riley out of Louisville, 6 foot, 195. The thing about Riley, first of all, he's a good tackler. And as far as the Steelers, Steelers like corners that can tackle. But he played press a ton because that's what Louisville did. They played press and they played man-to-man coverage basically 88% of the snaps. That's what Louisville did. Yeah. So he can play that. He can play press. He can play off man. He's good in zone. I like Quincy Riley. He's a good corner and upped his draft stock because he could have come out last year and decided, you know what, if I come back another year and get better, took coaching, got better, improved it, it's somebody the Steelers might think about in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, safety position. Now, I want to preface this too. The Steelers could go safety too. And don't be shocked because you never see a safety go in the first round. You're not going to see that. But in round 2 or 3, could they do it? You better believe they could do it, right? And listen, these top 5 dudes are dogs. Like, these top 5 dudes on this list are day one starters in the league, bro. Day one, I'm telling you straight up, all you got to do is just look at the tape. I always mess his last name up, but I'm going to say Amiri Ward. He's out of South Carolina. I know his number 7. I put on the tape and watched him. Like I said, South Carolina, you can't go wrong with picking any guy on South Carolina's defense. They all were ultra aggressive. This guy's downhill, but he does well in coverage. And guess what else he does well into, B? Nickel. He's a nickel safety, right? He might have the longest measurements for a safety in the draft. So he can cover a lot of ground fast, and he's going to run a nice time. So I like him. here we go again with the Bulldogs. It's the main thing. You can't go long with a Bulldog. In my opinion, I think Malachi Starks is already a Philadelphia Eagle. I think there's some kind of way the Philadelphia Eagles going to cheat and make sure that he goes to their team, and they're probably going to pick him at 32. So Malachi Starks is a beast. Mukuba, who improved his stock because he originally played at Clemson and then played his heart out this year for the University of Texas, bro. And he was actually, to me, a better defensive back than Jahdae Barron when you actually put on the tape. Remember that big hit where he tore Carson Beck's behind up and they put him out of the college football playoffs? That was Mukuba, dog. Mukuba was out there killing cats at that safety position. So he's not undersized, but when I'm saying he's aggressive, yes. Xavier Watts, another type dude. He's on that Morrison tip. Notre Dame actually had a very good team. The more I started watching them, I was like, yeah, their defense is nice. So no wonder they made it to the freaking college football national championship game because they had outstanding defensive play, right? And then Malachi Moore, B, you already heard me talk about, dude. Listen. If Mika won a trip, act up if you want to. Your replacement's on the board, dog. If Malachi Moore would have came out last year, he would have been the first safety off the board. I promise you he would have been the first safety off the board. But, hey, now we might be able to steal him at 2 or 3, B. We might be able to steal him.
Right. No, I agree. I like this list. A guy that's not on the list and is down a little bit but would have been is Kevin Winston out of Penn State. Kevin Winston got a partially torn ACL week 2 of this year. He's supposed to be back, or not supposed to be. He's going to be back for on-field drills by March. So in another month, he'll be back. Yeah. He's big, sure tackler, really good in coverage, has fallen down. If the Steelers could steal him at like round 6 or 7, that would be outstanding because the guy's a third-round talent. But sometimes, like I said, you get hurt, people drop you, think you're injury-prone. And the thing about it, the doctor said that if he wanted to continue to play, he could have continued to play with a partially torn ACL, but they said you'll never pass an NFL physical, so you have to have the surgery. That's where the difference is that he wanted to keep playing, but they said for your future, you got to shut it down and have the surgery to fix it. So I like him. If, like I said, the Steelers can steal him late, I'd be all over it.
Right. Now, the kickers and the punters, I'm not going to go into no whole bunch of depth because I didn't even put grades on it. And B, me and you talked about off record or off tape. That's the one position the Steelers don't need. We don't need a punter. No. We don't need a kicker, and we don't need a long snapper.
No.
But for you guys of interest, because there's probably people out there in podcast land, who's the best kicker? Who's the best punter? There's your kickers, man. In my order, in my position, I think, because all of these guys got tape. Everybody named Mama could kick a 50-yard plus field goal. All these guys can do it. That's the going rate in the NFL. Then they're accurate. So there's your kickers, and you flip over to the punters for my big board. The best punter in the country is the kid out of Oklahoma. Go back and watch the freaking tape. He's a beast, right?
And he talks trash, Big G.
Oh, my God, be running down, busting his chest. I'm like, yeah, what, And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling the energy, but we don't need that position in Pittsburgh.
No.
So I didn't put a grade and all whatever else, but that's just for people's interest so that way they can get a feel and flavor of what's out there concerning the early big board by position for me and the Pittsburgh Steelers, bro.
I'm going to put this up real quick. Our man Digital Dust. The Ravens need a kicker.
That's big facts. That's big facts.
See, you ain't no good, man. You ain't no good, but I love it. I love it, but you're right. The Ravens do need a kicker.
Yeah, that's big facts. That's big facts. I don't know. I don't know all what's going on over there, bro. I don't know. I done heard some stuff. I'm hearing Jergens lotion and massages, and I don't know.
It's getting worse and worse by the day to Justin Tucker. And I'm just this little tidbit, and I'll get off of this. But here's my thing. If you accuse me of doing something and you're suing me and I didn't do it, there is no way in hell, especially when I have the means of a Justin Tucker, I'm suing you back for defamation of character. You're not going to just get to sue me and tell me that I did something that I didn't do, because that's the whole thing. The thing about it is Justin Tucker did exactly what they said. Now, I don't know the rules about sexual harassment and all of that, but if y'all read some of these reports, I think Tucker did it. Part of what they said.
Yeah,
There's something to that. I think he did part of it. Whatever else, but like I said, if I'm innocent, you don't get to just ruin my my reputation. Because my mother is around, my wife is around. If I have children, my daughters, my grandmother, you just don't get to do that to me. That's just my personal opinion. That's just my personal opinion. So, but we can move on. We can move on.
Facts.
So
all right, bro. So I got it. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. So